funny. I go back home.
Sorry.
Christine. No, that's okay.
Yeah, edit this part out. I'll let you know what we're
I don't think we're gonna be recording this.
Yeah, like the
but
voice, the little. Again, the AI is getting so robotic.
no, but you can cut this and
Yes, no,
yeah.
I
Okay.
didn't want to forget because
Okay, sure.
if we get to
Yeah.
talking,
That's
and then
important.
I'll be
That's
like, and
important.
then we'll all go our separate ways, and it'll be like,
Get
there's
caught up
no
in the
episode.
conversation.
It was a
Otherwise,
good
you get
chat,
caught
but
up.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
But Christine knows how crazy it is when we go back to Brazil. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, it's like it's never a vacation. You know, we go back. It's just like a family. It's nonstop. You want to see this, you want to see that. Like it just it never ends. It never ends. And so it's
never ends, and it's never enough, right? It's like we always want to stay more and to do more. There's so much to do with the little time that we have.
And I don't know if this is for you, but for me, like I do a lot. Look, I'm fortunate to have really good, health insurance here with our, union and stuff, but I barely use it. I go there and I do all my stuff that is medical, do all my exams, I do everything. Like my family members is like, they get upset because I come in, it's like for 2 weeks, I'm doing all kinds of exams. I have this, I have that doctor, I have that thing. It's like, it's insanity. Like my schedule there is worse than when I'm here sometimes. It's pretty wild.
Oh, your family is jealous. Is like, I thought you were here to see us.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
It happens when you live in another country, and it's hard for them to understand you because they don't go through that, right? They don't know what it is like to really.
And then you have friends. You have one friend you wanna, then you have a good friend you wanna, and then somebody reaches out that is not really your close friend, but what do you say? No, you're here for once it's pretty wild. So anyway, we are here, we are doing it, and Evan, where are you located again?
So I am located in Boston, far removed from all of you guys. Actually,
you're right. You are in Boston. You're right. You are in Boston. You're right.
The host of the event that you're going to tomorrow, how do you pronounce your name? I apologize. I've been pronouncing it Guy, but is that correct?
Gui.
Like the uniform, Gui.
Like the kimono, yeah.
Gui. Okay. I'm like, I've seen it written down so many times, but now that I finally have you here and I can ask Gui, got it. Yeah, he invited me, and I'm like, it's in LA or wherever. I'm in Boston. It's kind of last minute. Don't think I'll be able to make it, but appreciate the invite.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so let's get started.
Let's do it.
Thank you to the both of you for agreeing to come on this episode of X-Men Exposed. I feel like this is a very special episode because we have both the mom and the son dynamic going on here at the same time, which is great. So without further ado, would you guys like to tell people who you are, introduce yourselves?
Christine, you go first. Mothers.
All right, mothers first.
Mothers always go first. Such a polite son.
So, well, I'm Christine Webby, and I was born in Brazil. And I came to LA around 15 years ago. And I've been here I came initially to study at Lee Strasberg Institute. And I did a few years there. And then naturally I started working until, I got to meet Gui and my fellow Brazilian. And in this process of the X-Men, actually we didn't meet during the recordings for X-Men. We met in another project we were doing this project. We were looping for Musica, and so basically that's it. Before moving to LA, I lived in Italy for a while. I lived in Florence. And I started work, I started my acting process in Florence. I fell in love with acting then. And then, that's where I started my career, and it brought me here.
Before already the karate uniform, Gui. Before we get to Gui, since you brought it up, what really quickly, what made you fall in love with acting in Italy?
Acting. So, it's, I always what I love about acting is that you get the chance to live so many lives in one. And I love life,
Yeah.
and I want to experience everything I can, in my life. And what better way than just, studying characters. And I think I become a better human being with acting, because you empathize with so many different characters, and you have to see the world through their perspective. And I think it's a wonderful exercise. So that's what made me fall in love with acting, this possibility. And I still, to this day, it's my favorite thing about acting.
That's such a beautiful answer. How about you?
All right.
Who are you?
That was very interesting, and I can agree with a lot of things that Christine said. Also, I've been in the States for 15 years, exactly.
Oh.
15 years, yeah.
Maybe
And I
the two
didn't
of you
know
were
that
on the
story.
same plane.
I know, we have a lot in common. We're not from the same town, place, but we're close by, in Brazil. And I didn't know about Florence. I didn't know acting started for you in Italy. And one of my things, I'll mention this in a little bit, but one of my goals, and now I'm really like set on it, like probably 2026, I'll start studying Italian, because I want to speak 5 languages, and Italian is my fifth one that I want to master. But anyway, I love Italy. I've only been to Rome, but I'll get there. So my name is Gui Agustini. Like Evan said, kimono Gui or butter Gui, but it's spelled differently. I'm the voice of Sunspot in X-Men '97. Our Brazilian mutant, first mutant from the Marvel universe, created by obviously Stan Lee and Chris Claremont. I think Chris Claremont primarily, and I actually got to meet him, which was incredible. And yeah, I've been acting pretty much for 15 years. I started a little bit later in life. I was a tennis player. I went to play professionally, and life by chance or by the universe got me the opportunity to get to a class, and I fell in love with it too. A lot of the psychology, a lot of the the that butterfly feeling, I was so scared, like attracted me to it. And I'm a big lover of Shakespeare, but I fell in love with reading my first play, and and never looked back. And I've been lucky to be in incredible other projects, film and TV, some Brazilian movies that I'm very proud of. And I was actually played a professional tennis player this year in a new TV show called Elsbeth on CBS. So that was a beautiful full circle moment. And I'm also a filmmaker. I direct a lot of my own projects, and been creating a lot of short films for 10 years. And the goal is to get to my feature film eventually, where I get to direct and act and tell beautiful stories.
Yeah. Perfect segue. I was talking with Christine. I was checking out both of your IMDb pages, doing a little bit of homework before we started, and I noticed on yours, under like sections of positions held, it literally almost had everything. Writer, producer, director, sound.
Yeah, I just don't, cause it's like, because a lot of these shorts, I did a little bit of everything. I know a little, I dabble on many things, but not at that level. So that's why even producing, like most of us, when we're starting out, you're creating your own projects, you have to produce it. Like, so I don't. I was forced to do it. I don't enjoy it. I don't want to be a producer. I get that, in this day and age, you have a lot of power, obviously, and I think, I don't know, for me at least, that's one thing that I actually also like about directing, is you get your vision, you get a little bit more control. And I'm a Virgo, I'm a control monster, recovering one, because acting makes you deal with that, and asks you to be so much in the unknown and to let go. But yeah, I producing I will always do if I absolutely have to. Is not something I'm passionate about, and I don't consider myself a producer. But when you're adding the stuff on IMDb, you got to go, and then it shows up. But
Sure. I know how it is. And Christine, I noticed that you're listed as both an actor and you worked in the sound department.
Well, yes, that looping.
Looping.
I did a lot of, a part of it, part of the VO, like sometimes I'm called for looping, and I love it. We have so much fun. That's how I met.
Explain for the listeners who maybe don't know what looping is. Even a lot of my friends,
That's a great idea.
I didn't even know until I started doing it. I did not know what it was, and most of my friends is still are not. If they're not in the voice world, they don't know what looping is. It's pretty wild.
Well, basically, like very simply, all those voices that are in the background, you know, like are behind. You don't get to really hear it unless you're really paying attention. You hear it. You hear like the you know, the people talking, all the any situation. Let's see that there is a scene between two lead characters in a bar. So doing the looping, it's all like those extra voices that are around, you know, maybe you're sitting on a table next by and, you know, maybe you're the waiter, but not necessarily an additional voice. That is another thing that you can do that as well. You can be asked to do that in a session for looping. An additional,
would you become like almost like a principal in that particular scene? Like you can really hear and understand your voice, but we work mostly on like the background ambience, creating the ambience.
And the whole process, it's so much fun. What I love about it is being with other actors, because we get to spend a day, I mean, you know, like on the post-production, it's post-production, so you get to spend the day with fellow actors, and we have so much fun. Yes,
and you get to see you get to see the movie a little bit in advance.
You get to see the movie a little bit. That's one of the perks. But you also, it's so, I remember from Musica, there was one of the scenes that we had to dance, and normally you're actually doing that, like, you know, on the mic.
It's so fun.
It's so much fun. That's what it's purely, I think for an actor, what you take from it is really the experience of improvising with other actors.
True. And also something I didn't know for the listeners, like some people like primarily only do that and they live doing that. They make a good living who like, because some people do it very consistently. I wish I was one of them, like, but it does take a lot of time.
Like, yeah, people who get to be a looper, they want to keep doing it, right?
They keep doing it. So, but people, it's just like even like professional background actors, right? Like some people are professionals at it. I didn't know that was a thing back in the, you know, like, and so they're SAG and they get the rates and they you know, they make a decent living. So,
and it's fun, you know, when you have like a fight scene or something like that. It's amazing because then you get to do like, you know, you practice it, because that's what we do. For example, when we require, you know, when we have to do an audition for a video game, for example, you know, there are a lot of those.
Yeah, or even ADR, when you have to ADR yourself, which is essentially looping is ADRing, but it's not, you know, it's all these terms, but.
No, I love it. It's part of what I like to do specifically on this podcast that I think differentiates it from some of the other more specific or more focused podcasts out there. Is I love to focus on the backgrounds and the careers and not just be like, well, so how does it feel playing Sunspot? You know, I mean, that's an important question too, but I'm sure like you've been asked that, well, where's Sunspot going in season 2? Well, I can't tell you. Like, okay, cool.
We'll leave that for the end, for sure. Yeah. We appreciate you, Evan.
So I love getting into like people's backgrounds, what they're passionate about, why they're involved in whatever particular aspect of the IP, I guess, or the franchise that they happen to be. What was the like? How did the audition process for that go? Did you even know that you were auditioning for X-Men? How did they come to you? Did your agent...
let's hear from Christine. I think she. I mean, I forget exactly. Let's see.
Well, I did not know. No, I just received an audition, and it's funny because it's one of those auditions that when I got it, I you know, I had a feeling. I know I can do this. You know, it felt like very instinctive.
Sorry, that's in VO as opposed to live action, or what was this that you?
No, instinctive. Like I of course I knew it was VO, so I read the sites that they sent me. The sites that they sent me were different sites. Actually, I didn't record that for the episodes. So, and on a different name. My name was not Nina. I think it was Anna. I can't quite remember right now, but I think there was a different name. And I said, okay, I can do this. So it was a quick audition. I actually recorded it on my phone, and I have my booth at home. But I just was one of those that I think, okay, I can do this. I'm going to send it, and I just recorded pretty quickly, and I sent it. And then, okay, a month or maybe 2 months passed by, and maybe a month and a half, something like that. I was in Holland with my husband. My husband is Dutch. So we were in Holland for vacation. And then it was late at night because of the difference of time. And then I got a call from my agent, Sam from CSD. And I was watching some TV, and I didn't really pay attention. And I said, oh, there's a call from Sam. So my husband looked at me and he said, well, call him back, because it's so, like, normally, you don't get a call from your agent unless it's something pretty cool.
It's either really good or really bad.
Yeah, they're not known for calling you all the time. So anyway, so I went into the bedroom and I called him and I say, hi, Sam. Well, because they sent the audition with a code name. There was the audition was you're auditioning for not for Rival Speak is another one, Teen Spirit.
Okay.
And right, Gui was Teen
I like that name. That's a good Star Wars was called Blue Milk for a while.
Yeah. So I didn't connect. So I got a call, and Sam told me, hey, Christine, you booked Teen Spirit. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Sam, for the call. But until then, I had not realized. And then he said, well, you realize that this is pretty cool, right, Christine? This is for X-Men. It's Marvel. And I was like, I got like almost like, you get a little moment that you're paralyzed. You don't, okay. Sure. Yes. Okay, Sam.
That's friendly and nice at first. And then you were told what the gig actually was.
Exactly. And then that's it. And then I went into the living room, and my husband naturally asked me, so what was it? And I said, well, I booked X-Men. And then he was jumping. I think he was jumping higher than I did.
So you're a big X-Men fan, your husband?
He's amazing too.
He was my resource. He was my main resource, because I couldn't tell, right? I couldn't.
So I had Guy's voice in my head during that entire story shouting. You should probably tell, for people who don't already know, what are sides? You said that you read sides. What is that?
Okay. So sides, it's part of the script. It can be part of the script, or maybe just something that they wrote for you to audition. It's like technically the lines or the scenes that they want you, and they describe the scenes and everything like on a script. Sometimes it's part of the script, but not necessarily. And sometimes they write, if they're really secretive, or if they don't want you to know what project you're auditioning for, they send you something else.
We call it a dummy side. So
the dummy side, exactly. And then that's where you go from.
And dummy sides, correct me if I'm wrong, are more to like get during the style of the character as opposed
to usually yes.
Feel.
Or, I mean, we probably got there's sometimes they'll use scenes from a different TV show, or I don't know, it depends. Sometimes they can write it, or they can just pull out from a different project that has the essence of the character or the show, it just depends. But see, because Christine and I have the same agent, we're represented by the same agency, and I did not get a call. I'm gonna
You said that before.
So how did the process go for you then?
I know that Holland story, so I'm gonna get on him now.
So how did the process go for you then?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been saying incorrectly, because I'm sorry, Christine, now that of course you're part of this, but every time I've gone to the panels, with my other castmates, I've been then saying that I was the only one who never figured it out and never knew. I guess I meant in the general sense of the other ones, but yeah, like Christine, I think we're the only ones. I mean, there are other people that I don't know exactly the stories, but even Morla, who I didn't know, and I had she was at the X-Men panel on at LA Comic-Con, and so she was talking about her process, and she figured it out. Everybody figured it out. A lot of people had voice matches, so obviously they need to know. But even some, even Lenore, big people, their original voices, they would not tell them. And they sent them the same side. Oh, they sent them scenes from the original show. So they're like, I've said this before. So anyway,
Lenore was
they
ready for
figured
Rogue. They should have
Huge.
had over a
yeah, yeah.
decade ago as Rogue to say
Yeah,
again.
yeah, exactly. So, but for me, yes, I think I don't remember. Also, I actually thought that my name, the character's name, was Roberto, but maybe I'm wrong. Most likely not. But yeah, we had the code name, and yeah, I never figured it out. I just had my description, my sides, the scenes, and you know, asking for a Brazilian accent and a regular accent, and he was Brazilian, and I just auditioned, you know, and I auditioned twice though. I auditioned in the fall of 2021 and then spring of 2022. So a few months later, I got the same audition, and I remember I was like, I've auditioned for this before, but here we go. And so 2 months later, I got an email from Sam that I was going to be a superhero, and I was obviously very excited, but also did not remember what I had auditioned for. You know, we auditioned for multiple things, and I mean, I was like superhero. I mean, you know, I think everybody. I don't. Sometimes I don't even know like some of these animation projects. I don't know if it's a superhero or just a character. I don't know. So I'm like, wow, that's cool. But then as I continued reading and I got to the contract, it said X-Men '97. I was like, what X-Men? But I also didn't know what X-Men '97 was. I had no clue they were revamping it. They were bringing it back. Like I grew up with the show in the '90s, but I had no clue. So I was a little, you know, excited, but I was very excited, but I was a little oblivious to the whole thing until a little bit later, you know.
Sure. So I had the privilege and the honor of interviewing the Leewalds this past summer, who were executive and
Yeah.
writer in the first series and were helped on this production. And one of the things that Julia said, which speaks to that, is that like there were rumblings. They heard that like some of the original cast members who, you know, they had then become friends with, like Lenore or the voice of Beast and stuff, was like being called in, but nobody could say what they were being called in for or what was happening. Just all of a sudden, yeah, the telephone started ringing again.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Experience. But so as someone who has worked on both live action and animation projects, what do you feel is for you personally the key difference? You have a preference or?
Well, I've been asked before, like which one I find it easier, which I don't
Sure.
like to give that answer, but it's fine. It's just my truth. I personally look, there's each project is very different, but if I had to have a certain amount, it's the same amount of pages, the same amount of words. That's essentially the same audition, and I'm doing one on camera, and the other one I'm putting on a VO. I mean, the VO is always going to be simpler, you know, because you can, you know, there's way less technical things. You know, you just go yourself, you do it, and you don't need anybody else. You know what I'm saying? To make it happen. So just in that structural way. And then if you book the job, you have to memorize it, you know. So there's extra things that you don't have to do when you're doing a voiceover. Now that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean there's not, you know, maybe just as much preparation, or, you know, you have to read the script, you have to know it, you have to do whatever you need to do to portray, you know, that scene. That's the main difference for me in terms of auditioning. And then in shooting, it's like, to me, it's night and day, because I felt, and especially this being basically my first animation project, I did a small part in Spidey and His Amazing Friends as a surfer dude.
Okay.
That was actually like, because my first experience in animation, it was so fast. I mean, they've been doing it for how many seasons or episodes, and the casting director was like, "Oh my!" I had 30 minutes. I didn't have a lot of lines, but it's just like, okay, dude, it's like, okay, and like literally like on steroids. But I personally love that kind of vibration, because I'm naturally kind of like, you know, a lot of energy, and I love to be totally focused, and I just got to get it, and I got to do it, and I don't, you know, I don't like to have too much time in between, too much talking. I also do dubbing, and I think Christine does it as well. And I remember there's one dubbing that I did. Oh my God, it's like I am dubbing. Like I'll do it again. Like it was 30 minutes talking about the character. I don't need to hear about the character. Let me just say the lines. If the inflection is not fine, you do it again. You know what I'm saying? But we all work differently. But yeah, I think it requires way more when you're in live action because you need to be fully memorized. There's much more things going on. There's so much more technicalities, and there's more pressure. So that's my two cents. Also, because in voiceover, you then go line by line. You give 20 reads of one line. You don't have that luxury when you're doing live action. So anyway.
No, that's a brilliant answer. What about you, Christine?
I think they're. I agree with everything that Guy said, and it's yeah, basically that's it. But I think every adventure is a new and different adventure. So if for me, it's like if I love the character, if I can contribute with the character and with the story, and I look very much at at what the character is all about and what can like I said, what I can contribute to the story. And if I feel like, okay, this will be fun and this is something that I can do, and or I'll, either most of the times, like I learn so much from my characters. So totally different in technical aspects and everything. It's very different. There are a lot more comfort with VO, I think. You don't have, there are different things, but I think there's another side when you're on set and you are, for example, yes, there is more different. I would like to say more work or less work, because that's not necessarily true, but there are different worries with each. On set.
But there's one thing that is absolutely a fact. You will never be on a booth for 10 hours, and you will be on set for 18.
That's true. But you get the cool part. For me, for example, when I have to go and spend some hours, and I just did something for SEAL Team that was such an amazing production, and I got so lucky to be involved. I spent like 3 hours for one of the episodes. Right now, actually, it's the first podcast that I can talk about that experience, because until this Sunday, I was not allowed to say.
But you posted recently, didn't you?
I
posted,
did.
yeah, all her makeup and all her.
The photo on your Instagram feed from the other night.
Yeah, I spent. So there were these two wonderful makeup artists with me, and it's so interesting. I spent almost 3 hours with them, like in the morning, just creating. They aged me 20 plus years, and they did every single detail. Like, like to see the transformation that you don't get with VO. You feel like all I needed to do that day, like to really feel the character, was to literally touch my hands, because the texture and my hands really looked like so old. It was like that's how the power of working with this kind of
what I would love? I would love to see your audition for that. I think you should post it if you want to. You should put, like, some people do that. I love audition and then the actual scene, so you see the difference. Because sometimes in audition,
it was actually with a different scene.
Oh, damn!
Totally different scene.
But same character, same
character, and then they just decided to bring me back, and for the very last episode, because it was very connected to one of, I don't know, I don't want to do any spoilers for people who haven't seen it yet.
Well, can you say what it's for? Or
yes. So I play an African woman, and they had to really like.
No, but the show is the SEAL Team, right?
Oh, the SEAL Team, yes.
Wow.
The SEAL Team on Paramount Plus.
That's like a big show, I hear. So
yes, it is. And on set, it was one of the most amazing sets that I've been in. With all the when they would come in, those, like the SEAL Team would come in with guns and everything. We had to literally use like a little those things that you put in your ear for sounds, because they were literally like doing the sound. So it's an adventure. It's fun. That's what I mean. It's fun, With VO animation is different. You go in and you have your lines and you record your lines. And that's another thing that I think it will add to what he was saying before, that you don't get to see your character until after you recorded your lines. So they build the character after you record your line. So when I saw Nina, it was on my ADR. When I went back for ADR, that's when I got to see Nina. And then I was like, wow, that's Nina, and I love her.
I have to say, they did I mean, they have differences, but they also both Roberto and Nina, they have very similar features to the both of you, as well as to their original designs, which were obviously back in the
well, kudos to the
70s.
amazing designers and animators and the creation. And I mean, they did, they created a different version for Nina, which I actually did not know until the show came out. I didn't know.
You did not know. Yeah, you haven't seen her, right? It's so funny because for my last
I saw it at one bit at the first time that we see you coming out of the TV, but I didn't even put two and two. I was just like, well, maybe that's the illusion of his creation, and this is like a monster that's not really real. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I don't know, is that her? I was like, well, that's not what I've been studying for the last year. Like,
it's also fun because Evan, so one of the things that I remember about the last time that I went to and I did my last, I think it was the last recording that, not the very last, but like during that initial process.
Sure.
I came in, I just finished my session, and then the guy said, oh, so who was here before you? And I said, no. He said, your son. And I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, he just left. And I was coming in, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's like I could have crossed.
But we never crossed.
Who this guy is. We never crossed that.
We never crossed paths.
You guys never were both in the booth like at the same time, or both of you were called in separately to deliver your lines then?
Yeah. We were all working separately. Yes,
because I know, like I've heard stories I read up. I know that depending upon the production, it seems to vary. Sometimes if they're doing VO with like a couple people who are sharing a scene, like for a lot of the bigger, like Frozen and stuff, they'll bring few of the actors in so that they could play off of each other. Other times, distance,
that makes sense. I think, I think it happens both ways, and I think I heard mixed stories about the original, for instance, because even from the Leewalds, and recently I Larry Houston, the director, and then with Kathy Disher, this last 2 weekends I was with her, and she said that because they were saying that in the beginning of the first season, she did say that after the third season there were everything was separate, but is in the first season, and I think up to the second season, they did a lot of the recordings together, but then they were having too much fun. There was a lot of issues of like other people's lines or whatever bleeding into the mics, so it wasn't as effective. And so they actually decided after season 3, if I'm correct by what Kathy said, then everything became separate. So you were talking about the 90s, so I believe a lot of that holds true, but of course, if you have the luxury and it's just a couple people and you have completely separate rooms or whatever, and then you do it, or whatever, I don't know how they do it, but of course it's more fun. It's just like Christine and I were saying about looping, like, because then you get a little bit more of the acting, like you're responding in the moment to that line, the delivery, and it becomes a little something different. But yeah.
So how was it being this guy's mom?
It's wonderful.
How do you put yourself in that head?
Let me say that just to have the possibility of, we didn't get to work together for the recordings and everything, but to have, but then after, with everything that you have to to do together, like interviews, signings, and everything, to have the privilege of having a person like Gui, like to work with, it's just a joy. He's so positive, he's so full of energy. So I think he represents really well Sunspot, because it's like that spot of light, right? that is the cool part, and it is fun. I think in the show, of course, like to have a son that is a superhero, it's cool, right? Nobody can say that it's not cool. And in life, you know, you have this gift that is to work with Gui. It's just all the way like 100% good things.
Thank you, Christine. That's so wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate you. That's very lovely. Thank you.
And we're here basically thanks to you. You're the one who suggested reaching out about doing the double interview, about setting up the group chat. So I definitely, you know, I'm an age-old X-Men fan, made so by the original series, similar to you, but then got heavily into the comics, both read back and forth to catch up on what I missed. And the New Mutants, Sunspot, and, you know, some of my absolute favorite characters. And when I was watching the show, first off, I personally feel like you just nailed the energy and the enthusiasm and the vibrancy that the character requires. And it wasn't until we started talking through socials after the show wrapped that I truly began to appreciate of just like how many of those aspects are actually true to who you are as a like. So I agree. You and Sunspot share a lot in common. I think I once said that you should play him in live action. I still hold true to that. You know, I hear Disney's doing something. So.
Hey Disney, are you listening? Hey, I'm here. Oh, that's very kind, Evan. Thank you. And look, obviously means so much to me, and I've been very, very fortunate, very lucky to have so many wonderful people come up to me, and you know, in the cons and online, and you know, we obviously enjoy the support and the positive response. And at the same time, there's the other side too, which is okay. It's how life is anyway. But yeah, I'm surrounded by so much of that positive response, and you know, coming from the creators, you know, like because again, I am very embarrassed to say I did not know Sunspot before because I wasn't a comic book reader. So there was never, I mean, there was Days of Future Past, but I don't know. I watched it. I mean, at that time I was a big fan of X-Men, all the movies, but I don't know. I never nobody ever told me. I never like figured it out. There was a Brazilian mutant, you know. So I didn't have the history behind me, and there's so much obviously history with Sunspot. And so to hear from people who have been like, a couple of my friends were like, gee, I'm such a New Mutants fan. That was my jam. That was my thing. Like, you know, stuff like that. It's pretty wild. I feel obviously very, very proud and honored. And as I now have been collecting more comics and reading them I was like, obviously, you know, there's such a journey. I mean, it's so hard to keep up. It's 50 years, like he's in space and then he's here. He's like older, he's young, you know, it's like it's all
well, he's existed not again as a character non-stop since the late 70s, I want to say. So
yeah.
I would personally put it this way: you're coming in at the ground floor. Like, you continue to be Roberto and X-Men 97 continues for a decade, then but like,
true, right? Then
like, you're the original concept of the character.
Right. So. Okay, that's good, because there's a lot of, you know, which was actually part of my process with you know, Bill DeMaio and the creators of, like, when they actually sent me some of the digital copies of some of the New Mutants for me to read to get a little bit more insight of the personality, and it was written on the page through some of the comics, you know, that kind of like arrogance and whatnot. But even in those, you know, he looks older, you know, he looks more mature, he looks more like
that's due to the artists. Like, they were all supposed to be like high schoolers at that time. So
right. So anyway, I'm, you know, obviously I take it, and look, it hopefully continues for so many more. There's an evolution, and I can become whatever they want me to become.
Rain
And
fire.
But isn't it cool? I was just as we're talking just now, Gui, I was here imagining, like, can you, if you know, if when you were a boy in Brazil, like someone would have told you, showed you the comics and said, hey, you're gonna be this guy, you're gonna be playing Sunspot one day. Look at that, right?
And
It's like
and
when we say that
then
dreams are, you know,
yeah.
like dreams come true, even, you know, what you haven't necessarily dreamt about.
Correct. Well, I like
Like it's you know, it's even bigger than what you dreamed about.
I like to say it's a dream I never dreamt. You know,
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
you know. But yeah, no, absolutely. I would have not have really believed, and I even said it also, like the fact, maybe the fact that I didn't know him, and when I got the audition, I was just another audition. Like, not to put it down, but there's less of a of
There's
this,
sure.
I
think
have
pressure.
to get this absolutely right because I owe this character whatever. Like,
yes, yes, there is less pressure. It's less precious because we don't know so much. So
You
we
just
are
you just do your version. You just do your
exactly.
version there.
Sometimes you are allow yourself to even be imperfect in an audition, right? Because as humans, we are all imperfect. So sometimes we put so much pressure on auditions that you want to make it perfect. You want to make it, but that is the joy of auditioning for something that you don't quite know and don't expect, because you don't put the pressure. You just like, oh, I instinctively know this, I'm gonna do it, and that's where it come, you know.
And that's why I find us to be so also very fortunate in that way, because after listening to the
Exactly.
stories of AJ voices Gambit, you know, Matthew Watterson voices Magneto, I mean, these guys had to, they knew, and they were obsessed with with it from their early ages. And then they had to voice match and act knowing that that's what they're doing. Pretty amazing, you know, pretty wild, because
But can you
imagine,
imagine the pressure too?
yeah. Yeah,
as
because
a
you really
fan
want
of
it.
that,
When you really
You
want
want it.
some.
You want to make it happen.
as a huge fan, like I shared a little bit about this when I was talking to the Lee Walls, but that initial show, literally, that initial show changed my life. No exaggeration, for the better. I was in a real tough place in my life when that show came out, and that show helped and meant so much to me. So when I heard that there was this revival coming, I was really excited. But then when like, I'll be honest, when I heard that so many of the actors were, or rather that so many of the characters were going to have new actors for the voices, I was nervous. I won't lie. Like,
Yeah, of course.
Panicked a little bit.
yeah, just a tad.
Of course.
Those like for me in that original show, those voices all were, but like the new, like I have to just quickly hand it to everyone involved. They nailed those voices and the characters and the, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Sorry, AJ, the new Gambit, who's both sound so much like the original voice for Gambit, but also contributed something new with the. It's just it was amazing.
Yeah, that's it's true.
And Christine, I just wanted to, so something that you said about dreams and trying to fight for what's true or whatnot. I feel like after the first season, your character is so complicated, your mom, because there's one way to read it, which I feel like a lot of people probably did, but like to me, the way you performed it was so sincere and so caring, and it's just you seem to be in this, the way you delivered it, and I contribute this 100% all to you, is like it's not that you didn't care about your son or guy, or like when the government shows up to lock him away, you're like, great, who cares, I don't need a son. Anyways, make my life easier. Is like your life went up, when you found out your son was a mutant, especially being in this stature in this class that you were, your world was turned upside down. And we don't know if in this world of the show you have a husband or what the deal is with the dad, but it's you. So Yeah, it's like, but it all, even when you were like, just go with them, it'll be better. Like it all read like you were trying, like it was coming from a genuine place. You were trying to do what you personally felt was best for your son, which, how do you feel about that?
Oh, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your words. It means so much. It really does. Because look, it's so it and like Bo, I was at this Q&A with Bo, and he said at the cantina, Gui,
Mm.
and he said, look, there is nothing that is everything that he used the word that it's not coming to me right now, but it's what Nina does. It's there is nothing redeeming about it, right? That's the word that he used. There is nothing redeeming about it. It's really, it's ultimately, she betrays her son, right? But the way that I did it, and that's why I'm very thankful for what you said to me just now, because I really, I the way I played it is that I really care for him.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that in that first scene, I tell Jubilee, I tell her, Nina tells Jubilee, right? Thank you for being there
Yes.
for him,
For being a
thank you
friend
for
to my
being there.
son. Yeah.
Now, there are other consequences, there are other problems, and if you consider Nina and the generation that she grew up in, and her I don't know, her life path or her things different. It's a different thing, and the pressures that she gets from being from that world, and from holding, because up until the show, like, she's the one holding the position of, because we don't know if the dad is around or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's her on that position of power, and there are so much pressure being that person as well. But of course she cares for Roberto. And a lot, the second scene when Nina turns, it's that's more complicated. But me personally, I made a choice that when I was on the booth recording it. Well, there are moments in Brazil. Brazil can be a dangerous country, right? And sometimes when you're faced with in a dangerous situation in Brazil, when you grow up, they teach you not to resist,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not to react, like react, but not resist. Like, if someone points a gun at you or something. And I years back, I was in that position once upon a time, like years back. I was in the car with my mom in Rio, and someone just came in with a gun and pointed in, like under the shirt. And at that moment, you don't think, because you freeze. You just literally, you freeze.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to harm those next to you. So thank to God, like nothing happened. It was just like, give me your bag, give me this, give me that. But ultimately, when I was recording that scene, that was what I was kind of using it, like as a deeper level for me to create Nina on that, because it's really hard. It's not casual, like, hey, here's my son, take him.
Right.
and it's really not. And at the same time, that's what I needed to do. So I needed to have and I just used what I have, because in those moments I know that you freeze, and because you're in so much fear for your life, for other people's lives, right? I had my mother, my sister behind me, so I know
and
what
his
it's
life, I mean,
and on this situation, there he is, and I don't know if these people, they're gonna kill him or not. And I want to protect him, and I want to protect everybody around, and it's so difficult. So that was my choice. I don't think I've ever said that.
It's very nice. I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome.
first off, I just cannot tell you how much I appreciate and thank you for sharing that. Sorry that happened, but also I feel 100% came through in the performance, and that's
Yeah.
so. So, all right, starting to wrap this up. What are you? Hopefully, you guys are coming back for season 2. I hear season 2 is in the works. Can you confirm or deny that Nina and Roberta will be back?
Another tough situation, isn't
I have to
that?
say nothing to declare.
It's fair, you know. As a fan, and as the
I know,
interviewer, I
I
have to
know.
ask. But as the
Of
interviewee,
course.
you know,
It's so
Uh,
hard because we do want to share things, but the right way. But it's like it's
yeah, look,
that's what I say always. It's gonna be amazing. Watch it
I
because
haven't.
it's gonna be amazing.
I've said it. I've said it already, but I wasn't with Christine, so like because but it's okay. But yeah, we'll have to wait. It's like it is in the works. And I know very little. Things have been changing, and I haven't been back in a while. And yeah, so we hope for the best, but we'll see.
so what do you guys have coming up, and where can people follow you?
Well, I'm on Instagram at Gui Agustini, Gui Agustini 1. Also Twitter, but I don't often use X. I love that it's named X now, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
I don't use it as much. Probably when season 2 comes around, that's when I go back to it. But I'm working on a couple different short films, which I have one that's been in the film festival circuit and is going to screen in LA at the Brazilian Film Festival, which I hope you can attend, Christine. If you've never been to La Brief, it's amazing. It's really incredible. I have 2 short films, actually. One that I directed in Brazil, in Rio, and then my other one is a New York story that I shot in 2021. And I've been posting about it on my Instagram. A lot of the community came to support and help me with voting for another film festival, which we just found out that we did get to the. I think we're going to be screening in Las Vegas the weekend after. So anyway, I'm going to make a post about it. But that's the main thing, like in terms of like that, a work that's happened a couple of years ago. And I'm editing 2 different ones. One that I shot in January, that it's really beautiful story that I'm really excited about. That I also directed, acted, and produced. And then another one that is tweaking the editing to start submitting to film festivals. And then auditioning. I don't have any other project that I can talk about that I have coming up, but hopefully soon I'll be sharing, on set or whatever images until we can share. But that's about it.
Always
And I
good.
also wanted to say, for those, and Christine has been so wonderful to support, but I have an online company called Impacto, which I create where we sell hoodies, tank tops, and t-shirts, and we donate 10% of our net profit to this incredible organization called the Midnight Mission in Los Angeles that work with the homeless. So since I got back from my birthday Euro trip at the beginning of September, I've been, doing my best to create more content and be more, out there with it. But I've already I'm so behind. But anyway, but I'm really passionate about it, to create a positive impact somehow, and that's the way that we chose to start. The Instagram is Impacto. It's at Impacto Shop, and our website is impactostore.com. So. But
The
you,
links
And I have
for
to
that,
say that the
by the
quality is
way.
amazing. It's
oh,
amazing. Yes. And the design is great, and it feels so
thank you.
good on you. It really does. So
Appreciate it.
I
yeah.
was sent the link. I have not had a chance to purchase yet. Money's been, but as a third party, not being paid for this endorsement, but I checked it out. Checked out the designs. There are some really amazing designs on there. So the
Oh,
link to
thank
that
you.
shop will be
Thank
under the
you.
description below this video.
Thank you.
Definitely go check it out. Go support it. It's a great cause.
And it's so meaningful. It's so
Yes.
meaningful. Yes, it's a good message. When you read a good message, like it sparks joy.
Yes.
So
And how about you already shared, but where can people find you, Christine?
Instagram, I think that's where I'm the most at Christine Webby, at Christine Webby. I would say mine, but yes, Instagram at Christine Webby, and most recently you can check out CL Team mentioned. And there is a film on Apple TV, and I think it's on Prime Video as well. It's called Lazarus, and I have a scene opposite Ashley Judd.
Ooh.
For all Ashley Judd's fans. It's a very nice film directed by Alec Tibaldi, and it's a beautiful. It's really, it was one of those projects really I had so much fun working on.
I didn't know about it. I got to check it out.
Yeah, it came out like recently. Yeah, so those are the projects that I can't talk about right now, but I'm excited for you guys to see it. The Rookie came out maybe not this season, but the season before. You can also, I think we talked about
curious, we were talking about it before we started recording, but you were on an episode of that as well.
So yeah, check me out, send me a message. I'd love to hear from you.
All right, well, thank you all for being here. Excelsior.
This was so amazing.
Yeah, thank
so
you,
much.
Evan. Thank you. And
so much.
Thank you, Christine, for being here with me and doing this together. Always a pleasure. I hope to see you soon. And to all the listeners, thanks for supporting, and thank you for your passion and love for these characters and for this IP. And to you, Evan, thank you.
Absolutely.